All right. Getting some things set up. Hopefully. And go figure, one of my lights don't want to work. Great. I checked everything too right before we started. But anyway, is my microphone not working on the piece that I wanted it to? Don't want to mute. Well, I guess we'll just have to figure it out when the time comes. Let me see what edit does. No. Customization. No, it doesn't do it either. Cancel that. Why is it not telling me which microphone that I'm using? Let's see here. Currently in use. I know it's currently in use there, but which microphone is you using? Troubles with the first time going live on YouTube. Well, second time. The first time I deleted it because it was just that terrible. So, okay. Well, anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like the camera's in a good spot, or good enough spot, or gooder, however you want to call it. And I don't know how to zoom in with this because I'm using my computer. It's completely, totally different setup. I'm actually using a laptop with a webcam and an attached mic. So, yes. I don't need to share screen. Now watch the audio just not be the audio that it was supposed to be. Let me take this microphone off. Yeah, microphone's still connected, it says. Let me see here. Yep, there we go. It does look like the microphone's still working. Or is it the microphone? No, the microphone on the computer's not it. So it looks like we're doing what we're supposed to do. Now I know why people don't do lives that much. When they're doing wood turning, they mainly do edits. I've done some Facebook ones, but hey. All right, what we have today is we've got a nice 9.5 piece, 9.5 piece long piece of cherry. It's been sitting probably for about a year, maybe, and it's about 3.5 or 3 inches thick. We're going to attempt the live edge. We've only got a little bit of bark that doesn't want to play right, and that's right here. And most of that's probably going to come off. So what we're going to do is I'm going to cut this direction to try to save as much of that bark as possible. And I'll use my 1/2 inch spindle gouge to rough it out, because you can use a spindle gouge. So let me get my face mask on, since we've got bark to deal with. And go figure, it moved further away from me. Wow, love the troubles on this video. Light quit working. Can't tell if the right microphone's working like I originally set up. All right. The woodworm screw didn't work for me. We'll start off at 700 because we got some vibration. We'll get better. Again, all I'm doing is roughing right now, trying to get around. And I'm going the wrong direction because I'm trying to save the bark as much as possible. All right. And because my woodworm screw didn't do what it was supposed to do in the beginning, I'm going to have to hurry up and work on this tenon before I lose good contact. Wow. All right. It looks like our video is going good. Now, I'm not going to be able to see the comments. So, hey, Alien Leader, how are you? I guess I can see the comments. I had to turn around. The computer is off to my right-hand side. So, Like I said, it's the first time I've used a computer to do a live. Completely different setup than I normally would do to do my recordings. I was doing my Facebook lives using my phone. All right, now the bottom's pretty flat. Hey, Alien Leader, do me a favor. Can you hear my microphone all right? Because I've hooked up a wireless mic that I've never used before. If you're still on. I think you are. Yep, there you go. Sounds good. Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much. That means the wireless mic does work. I originally bought it for my phone, and it didn't do what it was supposed to. All right, we got our tenon mark now, and we'll go ahead and start getting it set up, and then I'll work on shaping some more. We're going to use the, I believe it's 4-inch Nova Chuck jaws for this one. And this cherry is hard today. Not doing everything I want it to. Normally, I would shape the outside a little bit more before I work the tenon. But since the woodworm screw didn't want to play with the wood and it did not want to hold, I'm putting a tenon on early in case I can't keep it spinning with the woodworm screw, because then I can always just flip it over and do everything with it being on the tenon. So, all right. Now I can go back to shaping the way I want to shape, since we've got a tenon set up. Hey, this light at least still works. Again, the reason why I'm going backwards is we're still trying to shape it and keep as much bark on as we can. My finishing cuts will be the correct way. And there just goes a big old piece of bark. And this has been setting for over a year, so most of the time you've got to really try. Yeah, we're not going to be able to get a live edge. We're going to have to go natural edge. Too much bark's come off. So yeah, we're going to have to go. We're going to have to go natural edge. No big deal. This stuff's just popping right on off on one side. All right, so that makes it easier. We can just keep on doing finishing. Yes, I still have a table up at the up at Tamarack. I've got actually 2 locations for Tamarack. They've got a like a quick smaller gas station type thing, and then they've got the large Tamarack where they've got everything in there. It's huge. I've got them in both spots. Actually, I just did a sale with them last week, so that was a plus as well. All right, back to shaping. And I'm still at like sorry, about 700 RPM. So it's really not as fast as I want it to go to keep it good finishing cuts. Let's see here what we got. Where did I serve at? I was active duty from 97 to 2015 with the Marine Corps. I was pretty much all over the place. I was in the infantry, so I deployed a lot, a couple Mediterranean deployments, couple Iraq. I did 2 Iraqs, 2 Afghanistan. So I did some recruiting duty. I kind of wanted to do like everybody did, though. Everybody wanted to be a drill instructor, so I wanted to be a drill instructor. And at the time, for my first reenlistment, there was too many. So he's like, if you can't train them, put them in. And I didn't know what recruiting duty was. Besides, I talked to a recruiter, so I was like, sure, I can do that. Well, recruiting duty is not that fun. I will tell you that right off the bat. I did well. I got a lot of guys that still talk to me that I recruited. So that's a plus. I'm trying to think, do I want to, yeah, I'm going to keep my normal tenon as the base instead of creating another foot. And we'll make it a really wide turn with that one. Do that. So, yeah, I did recruiting duty. I recruited here in West Virginia. And then halfway through, they moved me from West Virginia to Columbus, Ohio. So, completely different cultures. I was out here in the rural areas recruiting, and then moved to the city and recruited from a city area. And yes, it's different cultures. Nothing wrong with either one of the cultures, but the cultures are different. And I did well in both locations. Had a pretty good time, but it was definitely not as fun as you would hope it. Hopefully that was enough info to answer for where I served. Mainly I talked about recruiting duty, but either way, I also, my last duty station was a place called CBERF, which is Chemical Biological Incident Response Force. They like to take infantry guys that's been in combat and use us to pretty much be pack mules. We learn a lot of first aid, EMT stuff. Our job with CBERF was if there was a chemical, biological, radiological incident in the country or in the world and they needed us, our unit would show up. And the infantry guys would go in first with the sensory people, and we will check for any survivors. And the infantry guys would take a look, make sure like if they can be helped or not, and we would assess them, move them to a medical station. And the sensory guys would be checking to see what kind of chemical or radiological things that they did that could get out there. Oh, so you've been all over London, Quantico, Okinawa, Cherry Point, and Virginia. Nice. So you were 95 to 2015. You've got 2 years senior to me. But mine was mainly, the infantry side was mainly North Carolina. So I got lucky with that part. So we're round now. And don't think you can see it with the camera, so I'll move the camera. That's as far as I can move the camera because of the cord. But right here, the ridge for the cherry is very punky. So it doesn't feel soft, but it's ripping like crazy. So I'm going to have to do a nice finishing cut, nice and slow, pick up the speed like I should have done in the beginning. And that would handle the, hopefully it'll handle the tear out and a freshly sharpened 1/2-inch bowl gouge. So I've basically got the shape that I want. I do need to fix this little lump there, which it will come out here in a minute. So let me see what speed we can get. I'm going to tighten up our tailstock because, like I said, the woodworm screw did not do what it was supposed to do in this one, and I have a little bit of vibration. So with that bark coming off, it moved around on the chuck, so it doesn't have a good connection, and my tenon is not running true. So there's another addition to issues today. All right, so I'm at 1100 and I got some vibration. I don't want to take a chance with it. So let me true up this tenon. I do have some wiggle room. And There we go. Flatten out the base itself. Have a little concave on the foot, so when it sits on the table, it won't wobble too much. Now for CA glue, in this instance, if I had the time, because it's so much around the end being punky, I would actually, because it's a wider area, it's good, literally is from here to here. I would take and thin out some epoxy, is what I would normally do with this much of punkiness. If it was just a small spot here or there, then yeah, CA glue, black CA glue, if it's a really small spot, or if I want to make it an accent, or just regular CA glue to tighten it up. But if with the amount of punkiness this has, I'm going to have to try to do it with a nice sharp gouge. And if that don't work, then we'll figure something out. I might have to use the 40 grit gouge, in other words, sandpaper. But we'll see what happens when we get to that. I had this all planned out before I came live, so it was all planned out nice and neatly. And then everything, you know how plans go. Plans are just an idea, and never work out the way you want them to. Okay, that gives me my base that I want. And I'll use the scraper to fix that little bit of a loop there. Let's work out, try to run this bevel. Again, we're going to go nice and slow because we're trying to prevent any tear out, because we've got a lot of air with that natural edge happening. A little bit more shallow. And since I'm right at the top edge, we don't want to have any rip off the top. Let's see if that makes any difference. It's much better. It's not like 100% fixed, but it's at least 80% solution for this punkiness. And that can be sanded out. Now I'll work on my little spot here. Yeah, it's hard, but like I said, this is a completely new setup, and I'm using a computer camera up here, the ones that normally would go on your computer for, you know, podcasting or whatever. It's a little small thing, but it's got a long wire and it's hooked to the computer. So I would literally have to move my computer from way over there to over here, and I have no way to do that without the computer being subject to a lot more dust and dirt. And then I could actually move the camera so you can see each side, the end grain is from about here to here. This side is mainly from here to about here is the punkiness. And thank you for yours as well. You actually started before I did, so if you wouldn't have done anything, there was a chance that I couldn't have had a chance to do anything. All right, let's do some scraping and fix this a little bit better. And today, to save time, well, it's not really saving time. It's just a different type of fish. We'll probably use a feed and wax, so you get a good feel, and it gives you the natural color. The only thing about feed and wax is, through time, like a food safe bowl, through time the finish will dull unless you buff it out or add more. But feed and wax is good. Some people prefer feed and wax because it's not shiny. Some people love the polyurethane finish on their bowls. I've got clients that love it, but I've also got clients that prefer a more natural finish. And that's what feed and wax does. You can actually still feel the wood. You feel the grain and everything else. And that scraping actually did a really good job too. So you can see some chatoyance in the wood. Again, if I could daggone zoom in this camera. So hey, I'm gonna have to deal with it. You know, first actual live where I've got people on YouTube, you know, coming and saying hi to me. So hey, first one can suck sometimes. And that's what's happening. So it's getting ready to get loud. I am going to start the sanding. So bear with the noise. Wow, that's a lot of dirt underneath the bark. Okay, so we'll get the sanding going, starting up the dust collector. And normally I would have a box that I would put here, kind of like Richard Raffin and Thomas Lopkamacek does, and it helps focus the wood dust down into my machine. But I don't have that up because, again, camera placement. It's a learning experience. And right now, I don't have the funds to just go out and buy everything. Grind that I use on my gouges. I use what they call that Irish or English grind. It's the long grind with the steep bevel, or the angle's not. It's not like the bottom of the bowl gouge. So it's the English grind or Irish grind, however they call it. But it's a long grind, and I use that for majority of them, except for my spindle gouge. Here, I use same thing again. Richard Raffin does. I've got a longer grind on the left side and a short grind on the right side to help out. So, all right, we got our 60 grit. We've got our machine going in reverse because I want to try to pick up any loose ends from the end grains. It's like kind of like grass. When you're cutting grass, if you keep going the same direction, the grass will lay down in that direction, so you don't really get it all cut evenly. Sometimes you have to go the opposite direction to pick up any of those grains that were laying down or any of the grass that's laying down. Same way when it comes to sanding a bowl with wood. Obviously, if you keep going this direction, and you're cutting, everything lays down and pushes that way, all the straw or the grains in the wood. So when you go in reverse, you're lifting those grains up. And that actually really helped that punkiness. You can barely see it now. But I'm using 60 grit now. That's just because of the punkiness. And then I'm getting ready to drop down to 120, or go up to 120. Right. Honestly, it all depends when it comes to sanding. Hand sanding, I feel that you get a better hands-on, a feel of the wood on how hard you're pushing, and it feels more controlled. Now, if I've got a stubborn spot that I just cannot get the way that I want, or if I'm doing hand sanding and I push too hard, and I've got a really deep cut in there, then I'll pull out my power sander. So I've got one of those Bauer angle drills that I use. I've used the non-powered one that uses the 2-inch discs too, but for sanding. Now, this is what I got for power sanding. It's a Bauer 3/8 close quarters. And it works great. It's real quick. Hand sanding, like I said, it makes you can feel a little bit more of where you're going and how you can control it. But sometimes you push too hard when you hand sand, like you can when you're power sanding, and you'll leave a deep cut in the wood. Excuse me. The other difference with power sanding over hand sanding is when you're hand sanding, the grain or the sanding goes a long ways. So you'll see the scratches, because that's all sanding is you're making deep scratches smaller and thinner. But the sanding goes one direction. When you use a power sanding, it's going this direction while the wood's going the other direction. So you won't see as many lines off the grid of the sandpaper. So that's another plus with power sanding, is you won't see as many straight, linear sanding marks. And again, once I get this whole camera situation fixed or set up properly, then I'll be able to zoom or move the camera closer so you can see a little bit better, and I can show you what I mean with the grain and the cutting and stuff. Like right now, I can still see scratch marks here from 120, and I'm on 180. So I'll flip over to a nice clean part of my sandpaper, and I'll flip the direction over and go the other way. When I first started doing wood turning, the lathe it was given to me by my uncle. It's an old Sears Craftsman lathe, great lathe, really old, sturdy. I still have it, but I use it for other things now. I actually use it for when I do a slow epoxy on a cup. I let it spin for 24 hours, and I pull a slow motor and put in it, so it still works. But it didn't have reverse, so the lathe didn't have reverse. And the first lathe that I bought from Harbor Freight didn't have reverse. And then I started learning that reverse is a good thing. And I learned that from Phil Anderson with Shady Acres. And sadly, I found out earlier today that he passed away. Phil Anderson passed away February 21st. And I loved watching his videos. Very interactive person. Like it felt like when he was talking, you were in the room with him. You were having a conversation with him, even though that he didn't do live, so he didn't see comments and stuff. Yep, 21st. Okay, so you do handles, pens, and kit items. Now, I haven't done pens. I've made bottle stoppers. They sell pretty good here. And I've made yo-yos. That's kind of neat and fun. And crochet hooks is my new thing. I buy crochet kits and make some crochet hooks that have the interchangeable heads. And those sell really good, like $75 a pop. Well, if I use epoxy, it's $75. All right, now I'm at 240. I don't know why I'm sanding the tenon, the base, because when this is all said and done, I'm going to have to use the power sander and remove that knob or nub anyway. So I guess it's just force of habit. It seems like I got a little spot here by the foot that wants to bother me. A little scrape mark right there. Okay. Don't like that. Jump back up to 180. Let's see if we can get that out of the part. Needle threader, seam rippers, good too. Yes, I've seen those, but I haven't got to them. Yeah, I started with the crochet hooks because somebody requested it, and then I was like, well, why don't? And I thought that to myself too. Why don't I do seam rippers? You know, keep with the patterns. You know, crochet, seam rippers, cutters, things like that. And yeah, keep making it a set, keeping the same type of wood, like an all cherry set, is really good too. Now, I've made utensils like whisks and spatulas and whisks, spatulas, spoons in sets, like all walnut or all cherry, and they sell pretty good. But then again, it all depends on your area. You know, where I'm at, I do sell pretty good, but my pricing is different. Other people that do wood turning in this area do normally, it's a little bit more expensive. I use the formula from the guy off How to Turn a Wood Bowl, or How to Turn a Wood Bowl. He does a lot of classes and stuff, but I use his formula. I do the diameter times the height, thickness, and then if it's a food safe, I times it by 2. If it's a decor piece, because I'm using like polyurethane and epoxy, I'll times it by 2.5. So that's how I do my pricing. So it seems pretty cheap, and because I don't pay for my wood, I don't buy my wood. I get it from people and I make them something. It cuts down on my cost, so I can price things like that. Now, if I had to buy wood all the time, then I would have to factor in the cost. But if you don't have to buy wood, then timesing it by 2 or 2.5 really doesn't hurt. And I've got a deep scratch, like I said before. Sometimes you get a deep scratch with sanding, so I'm going to pull out the power sander for a minute. And we'll hit 240 on that. Oh, come back with me. Shop time and electricity. I don't, because lately I've only really been getting out here on Saturdays and Sundays to do it, and I'm still turning a profit, so I haven't been adding on any expenses. But they say typically, and because I worked in sales for a bit at Tamarack, typically what they say is whatever the cost it takes you for the item to make a profit, you take that total cost, what it costs for purchasing the materials, the time and labor, and the finish and all that kind of stuff. But if you have to times by 33%, increase the value by 33% to create a profit. And the reason why they say that is because, if you have employees or taxes and things like that, that 33% markup is what develops the profit. Now, I don't do a markup. The only time that I mark up the price or change it from my 2.5 or 2 range is when I'm doing, it's got like an amazing grain. It's like an amazing, like if it has like a really neat grain pattern, or a lot of feathering, or fiddleback, as Richard would call it. Then yes, I would definitely switch it up and add like $10. If I'm doing a live edge, I'll add $10 to it. So, all right, so that was 240 with a power sander. Let's see what's on this one. This is 400. We don't want to jump that high yet. Where did my 320 go? Well, looks like I'm going to have to, I'll just use power sanding because those are marked. I think my 320 went down in the hole. Dust collector. Yeah, some do $50 to $80 an hour when they're turning. And here's the thing: the only reason why I'm turning is because it helps me. You have to have a hobby, especially if you were in the past line of work that we've been in. You kind of have to have a hobby to keep your brain from going a little bit out there. So this is payment enough being able to do this work. But yeah, some people do go factor in. Like I seen one dude do a video, and he would factor all the price and the cost and all that together, and then he would try to figure out how much an hour he was making it. And most of the time, for people to buy it, he would have to do like a $10 an hour working in a fast food restaurant payment. Like he couldn't get $80 an hour or $100 an hour like some other other crafts would be able to do, like an electrician or a plumber. They do a lot of hard work, and their hourly rate can be depending again where you're at, pretty expensive. So, all right, we're at 320 done. We'll go 400 on this one. Okay, that's what you meant. You meant there's a person that uses the title "worth the effort." Okay. Yeah, hey, I'm with you. I actually, this isn't my full-time job. Um, my full-time job that I have is also a desk job. Um, really don't want to say where I work right now, but it's a desk job. And I went from a guy that pulls triggers all day and does some crazy stuff to a guy that sits behind a desk and deals with money and budgeting. Total different line of work. Total different line of work. Let's see where that puts us. I'm not liking that one side anymore. Something just doesn't look right with it. So we're going to hit it manually or without splitting it. There we go. That's looking better. And you don't want to keep the sanding in one spot too long. That's why I move it around a lot. Next time I do a live, I'm going to daggone use a complete regular round bowl, not live edge, not natural edge. I'm just going to put a block of wood on here and we're just going to turn a bowl. So then we won't have to worry about bark flying off and the daggone woodworm screw not working right, making everything complicated. You know, bad end grain. So anyway, we are now sanded to about 320, 400. Sanded to 400. So let's go ahead and turn off this loud noise. I'm going to grab my feed and wax and a towel. All right. Howard's feed and wax. It's great. Smells good too. Uh-oh, what was that noise? Oh, that was my phone. Okay. Now, Howard's feed and wax is not food safe. Now, their mineral oil and conditioner is food safe. This is not. I would be marking this bowl as a decor piece. Oh. And it is wax, so, and it's cold, so it's being a little bit of a pain to get out. But what you do is you put a nice thick old blob and work it in. And then after it dries, it's a wax, so after it dries, you buff it out. And it can look amazing. Ugh. Hopefully I won't have to keep grunting like that to squeeze a bottle. It just hurts my wrist. I'm getting old in a young age. But yes, Howard's feed and wax, you put as much on as you can. Make sure that it soaks up into the wood nice and evenly throughout. And sometimes you can even do 2 coats. But it does bring out the color of that wood. Like that is totally different than what it was just straight dry. And I think that looks beautiful. Not perfect, but beautiful. All right. So we've got it good there. I'll let that dry. So while it's drying, I'm going to flip it over and we're going to start on the inside. So let me move some of my stuff around and get this stuff out the way for now. And my little sewing light that decided to quit working on me. That really bugs me. That was a good light too. Yeah, these lights here are really cool. It goes for like you can get them for sewing. They're bendable. They do last pretty long normally. I've had that one for over a year now before it stopped wanting to work. So you can get it in there and it's magnetic. So I can put it right here on my tailstock. and move it around to wherever you need it. So, and we're going to hit the camera. So I want to move the camera real quick. Oh gosh, how unprofessional. No, I don't have an Amazon shop. I don't do shipping or anything like that. Um, I just do local sales and Tamarack sales. Well, let me rephrase that. I have done shipping once or twice. The reason why is because on Facebook, when I post my pictures and stuff, I'll get people, hey, how much for this item? And send me the picture of one of my items, which is fine. But what they end up doing is they're trying to scam you using Zelle or Cash App. They'll say, hey, how do I pay you? And then they say that they attempt to pay you. And what they end up doing is they say, oh, I haven't received it. Check your email. And they send you a fake email, supposedly from Zelle or Cash App, saying that you don't have a business account. So because you don't have a business account, you need to have a $500 security deposit on there, and you get that back after the payment goes through and you receive your money from them. No, sorry, not happening. Why did I take that off? I needed that. I'm talking, that's why. So, needless to say, it's a scam. And then they'll get all mean to you, like, I can't believe this. I'm going to go on Yelp and to make your business look bad and this, that, and the other, trying to get you to want to do the $500 so they can buy the piece. And I'm talking about it's a $70 piece. I'm not going to spend $500 of my own money just to make $70 off of you, and then supposedly trust that I'm getting it back. You know, in the old '90s version, homie, don't play that. So we're not doing that. Okay, so what you just seen me do when I was putting this on here, I had a piece of paper towel that protects your tenon from as much the tooth pressure when the tenon squeezes on it, and it also protects it from the um, when the metal through time metal will get that dark like stain grease type thing on it. Even though you don't use grease, it'll get like a black stain that'll transfer to your wood. The paper towel prevents that, so that's another plus. And I'll do that with my 2-inch and 4-inch chucks. We've got good spinning. Clearance is good. I need to raise that a little bit more. Check it again. Oh, Amazon list of items that I use. No, I don't have anything like that posted. I use the shop app because Woodcraft's on there, and other locations. Let me see. But let me get in here and I'll look at it real quick. It's called the shop app. It's pretty good. Craft Supplies USA's in there. Woodcraft's in there. Turner's Warehouse. Everything that most of the people that I watch online, those are the main stores, which they're on Amazon too. So don't get me wrong, Amazon's fine. I've just used the shop app recently, and for the past year and a half, and it's been wonderful. So, but I have everything that I keep. I just go back to the buy again list, so it's not really like a full out list. But if you're wanting to know what I'm using, I can create something like that and plop that in my. Oh, curious about the light. Let me see if it's got a name on it. But I know what you mean now. You mean like a list of the items that I use. So if you wanted to use it as well, you could look it up and purchase it. I gotcha. Nope, there's no name on it. But I did buy that off of Amazon. It's a sewing light. But that thing was years ago. I mean, like when I first started, so that was like 2 years ago. So I'd have to really go back. I'll see about if I can make a list for you. I'll see if I can get a list put together and I can put it online on my under one of my videos. All right, back to the inside. 1200. A little bit of vibration. 1190 seems good. I've got it in there, good pressure. I didn't crank down on the tenon, but I did put an equal amount of pressure. You don't have to crank it. Maybe a quarter turn. is really all you have to do sometimes. Now, if you do have a softer wood, you might want to crank it down a little bit. And sorry about all my coughing. I had some teeth pulled recently, and when that happened, I had a lot of buildup of you know how that goes. You get a little bit of blood from the tooth being pulled, and you end up swallowing some of it. So I've been hacking a lung up every once in a while. Too much information, TMI. Gotcha. All right, I'm using my depth gauge here. We're going to get a basic depth I want to shoot for. Drop our speed down to about 600. Now I lost my spot. So I get for talking. All right, now I'm back again. Let's do a quick double check. No, actuality, I could probably go to that next one. Yeah, right about there. All right, there's my depth. Now, some people will go directly down to the depth, which is fine to do that. But if you're going really thin, you want to go down in sections. You want to do a little bit to get your thickness and then go down about another 1/4 inch. Work your way out, get your thickness, go down about a 1/4 inch. That prevents it from wobbling and warping on you while you're turning when you have an increased speed. Some people don't drill a depth hole and they leave the centerpiece. So it looks like they have a mountain in the front while they're going down along the edges. That also somehow that also helps from the wood flexing while you're trying to turn, and it keeps the chatter marks off of it. I still kind of like to do a depth hole. That's just me. And there's nothing wrong with either way. Just know that if you take too much and you go too deep and you're trying to go thin, you're going to have flex in your wood when you're turning the bowl. And what that does is, while you're trying to get a nice clean cut, that wood's flapping on it, and you get little chatter marks inside that you have to use a 40 grit gouge sandpaper to get it out. And it just doesn't look as good. And yes, this is everybody's favorite part of the turning the bowl, is doing the inside. Okay. Now, I'm going to have the same problem on the inside like I did the outside. Is going to be some of that tear out. So I'm going to have to go nice and easy, nice and slow. But it's not too awful bad. What's our thickness at right now? Yes. We're at 3/8 of an inch, or 11 mil, 12 mil, between 11 and 12. So we're going to go a little thinner. See if I can pick up any speed here. 13, 14. Vibration went away at about 15. So I'll make this our finishing cut. Try to go to a 1/4 inch. Ride the bevel, go nice and slow. That'll help prevent tear out. Once you enter into the wood, you can open up your gouge to take more wood, and that prevents the skipping. I'll show you here in a second what I mean. Okay, what people run into with the bowls when they start to make the first entry cut, if you're open like this, like 45 degree or something like that, it'll your into your edge will catch and it'll skip out. So if you go in like a pretty much a closed presentation, 90 degree, and then once you start your cut, you can start to open it up, go counterclockwise, open it up, and it'll start taking off more wood. So And that was actually a pretty darn good cut. I don't have much tear out. So I'm happy with that. And we're about halfway down now, so I can start removing some of the middle. Okay. All right, now let's go down a little bit further. See what we can do. Oh, let's adjust our tool rest so we can get a little closer. Less of a chance of anything popping off on you. Okay. Pick up at the last rub mark, the last finish cut, and then start making our way down and follow the edge of the bowl. Now, what I do with my left hand, and that's just something you figure out through time, is I'll take my left hand and put on the outside. And have I smacked my hand with the bowl before? Yes, I have. So be careful. But I can feel a little bit better with my hand behind it on how thick I'm going. Is it even? This is quarter inch, quarter inch, quarter inch. Right here, I start to get a little thicker. So I can feel it a little bit better. And plus, it gives it a little bit of stability if you're worrying about the wood warping and flexing while you're doing it. So I'm not a master of this. I just learned from watching videos and I enjoy it. Keeps me out of trouble. And I like making the videos for people. So that's the other thing. I don't make any money off of videos. Wouldn't mind doing that someday, but that's not me yet. So I've reached the bottom. And I can tell that I have plenty of room left. I should have went a little bit further with my depth gauge. No big deal. I do have calipers I can check. I can check it with too. Well, thank you. Means you got a sharp tool most of the time when it comes off like that. It's even better. It's even better if you're using a green piece of wood or a wet piece. Then it makes some beautiful ribbons coming off of that thing. So pick back up. I need to go a little bit deeper without getting a catch. That's where I need to go. There's my depth now. I was about a quarter inch to a half inch off of my 3/8, quarter inch to 3/8 inch off of my depth. All right. Since I'm pretty much at the bottom, I'm going to pull out the scraper and get this last little bit. Oh, what do we got here? We've got a 1.5 inch round nose scraper. When you use scrapers, you want it to sit above center and lift your handle up to have it just below center that way. But when you're flat, you want it to be above center because your burr that you're cutting with, it helps it when you dip it up like that, it gets a cleaner cut. That's why you'll see people do this with a scraper, or if they have a straight scraper, they angle it like that, and they're just peeling it that way. So before I do this, where is my, had it right here, got buried. It'll be all right. Probably fell down in the shaving somewhere. But I was going to try to give us a fresh burr on it. If it doesn't cut well, then I'll take it over to the grinder and cut it. People say using scrapers cheating. No, it's just a tool. Can I do the same with a gouge? I can. But if I have something that's specifically made to do what I want it to do, and I have the opportunity to purchase one, then that's what I'll do. I think these things have a very good purpose. Now, the nub in the middle, you just have to go up and down with it, your handle, to scrape that out of there, and then continue on with your scrape. Where are we sitting at here? Got a little bit of a lump right here. Other than that, the bottoms look fine. Yes, it's actually just like a negative rake. There's been like talk like which is better, a negative rake scraper or like a regular flat scraper. Honestly, to me, the difference is sharpening. This is a whole lot easier to sharpen than a negative rake is, because with a negative rake, you have to change your angles. You're working on sharpening two separate directions. With this one, all I have to do is set it on the daggone grinder and turn it. So sharpening is a lot easier for me. All right, so now we're pretty flat and even. We've got a good curve in here. Let's see what our depth is. Can I get to my caliper without messing up the computer? Probably. Yep. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need to build something for a computer if I keep this up. All right. Oh, we went sideways. There we go. We're back. So, ooh, yeah. Let's say that's good. It's about 5 mil, quarter inch. I could go thinner, but I don't want to play with it. We're all good. So let's sand. The other fun part. Take our speed down to about 700 or 800. And because of time, I'll go ahead and I'll do the power sander for it. It does go a lot quicker when you're doing that. Oh, where you at, buddy? Right there. Okay. And with the inside looking as good as it does, I'm going to start with 120. I don't need to start at 60 or anything like that. Turn on our dust collection. In the opposite direction, we got some pulled up frame there. I think what I'll do next time for recording, I'll keep using the laptop, but I'll find a way to run my screen through TV. Got here. To rebar using metal bar screwdriver. Yes, I have a. That's what I was looking for earlier was my diamond card. Is to do a quick burr on it. I have a 600 grit, 400 grit diamond card to try to throw another burr on. And I've used screwdrivers before too. Papa 1947, and also again back to the masters. Richard Raffin, Tomislav Chomacek, both of them. They use the same thing. Tomislav actually created a tool specifically for that. It's just literally a piece of steel with a handle that he makes himself. He's a small business in Croatia, and he makes his own scrapers too, and he sells. I haven't bought one yet. I don't even know how much they cost because I haven't needed another scraper since I got the ones I currently have. They last for a long time. This end grain on this piece, like I said, was a little funky before. The inside's not as bad, but it needs a little extra tender loving. Here's your spot out. And yes, they are all three really good. I haven't had much time to watch the YouTube videos and my favorites for a while. Work's been kind of crazy, but I at least try to watch Richard and Tomislav. Those are definitely the two that I try to watch the most. But Mike Pease is good, and Wayne, all four of them do a monthly challenge with each other. They're all pretty good. Tim Yoder, he's really good too. He's a good personable person too. It feels like you're in the room with him talking when he's doing furnace. He's really good. And he can be funny too. He's got a lot of energy. I've actually bought something from his website, and I forgot what piece it was. It was something that I bought. Yeah, but again, sitting at the day job, but my day job when I was sitting recently, this past couple of weeks, have been really busy and I haven't had time to keep them on, pay attention to them. But anyway, Tim, when I bought something from him, I am going to go ahead and sit you. I get a call from out of state. I was like, I don't know who this number is. And it's actually him calling to see if I got his product or not. I'm like, are you serious? Like, he literally in person called me to make sure I got the part that I was ordering. I was like, yes, sir, thank you. I appreciate it. Love your videos. I'm kind of like starstruck almost. Not all the time you get to watch somebody on TV or on the computer and then meet them and talk to them in person. There has been one though, like that I got to meet. His name was Daniel Double D, Daniel Dubois. I can never say his last name right. Dubois. But he does a wood turning channel too, Turnage Dubois. And he actually stopped by my house one time. He was in the area because he does sales, like a insurance salesman type thing. And he was in West Virginia. And he messaged me one time and said, hey, man, I'll be up in your area next week. I'm going to stop in. So we stopped in, looked at the shop. And dude is tall. Very tall guy. And he's just a great guy. Had a good time with him. He drove like 3 hours just to swing in and see me. I felt bad because he only stayed for a couple hours and had to leave. But he took a lot of time out just to come here. And I really appreciate that. He helped me, gave me some pointers for the channel, do's and don'ts, but I haven't been able to focus on the channel. So, making videos, editing, and all that. So I just started going live just a little bit easier to set up. And I may not get all the views, but at least I'm still online. What we got here? All right. All right, now we can move up back up to the 120. I'm trying to hurry, y'all. I'm trying to hurry. This is can be the most time-consuming part of the videos. Is this sanding? But I don't like to just throw a quick sanding on there and then say, "Oh, we're good." If I see something, I want to make sure that it's sanded appropriately. And sometimes that can take a little bit longer. And people will say, "Well, if you did a good finishing cut, you don't have to sand it." It's true. But even a good finishing cut, when you start sanding, you'll start noticing things that you may not like. And then you have to sand to get it out. Like I had a really nice, good finishing cut that I felt was rather nice, but now I'm seeing a little bit of pulled up grain, and the punkiness is gone. That's been sanded out really well. And for the sake of the video, I don't want to just sit there and say it's good, and you leave some pulled up grain in there, and it look horrible. So this may be a longer video than I wanted it. And there's no editing, so you're stuck with it. And I appreciate your time. I can only get better. That's why at the end of most of my videos, if I do the editing, never stop learning. You're never too old to learn. Never stop. Manassas, Virginia. What's mate? Is that like an event that they host? It's like woodworking or wood turning or something. This is the first I've heard of it. At Mate this year in Manassas, Virginia. That's probably I think 4 or 5, maybe 4 hours away. I think maybe 5. Oh, Mid-Atlantic Turners Expo. I have heard of it now. I just didn't realize it was mate. I've heard that term before, but I haven't seen much about it, but I've heard it. And I haven't been to it. Most of the wood turning stuff that I've seen has always been like Midwest. I might have to check that one, look it up and check it out. It's only a weekend that I don't have anything planned. I might drive down there and see it. But I've got events planned out here in West Virginia just about every month. I've got the Women's Expo. I've got actually local middle school putting on a craft show at Carnival. And I'm going to set up there and do some live turning. And then the Women's Expo is happening March 20th. I'll be going to it. In April, I've got my buddy doing a blacksmith. He's doing a big event. So in April, I'll be going to that. May, I don't schedule anything. It's the end of the school year. And it's also my daughter's birthday, so we have a lot that happens during that time. That's going to be another day. So I try to do at least one event a month. Sometimes it turns out to two. Okay. One more turn on the inside. Hey Todd, and I'm gonna mess up that name too. So I'm just gonna keep it at Todd. Sorry about that, Todd. I'm just gonna keep it at Todd. Hello, Todd. It's like my last name. Spelled. My last name is spelled completely different than what it sounds like. So I know what it's like to have last name unless that's the first name at the end. That would probably mess that up anyway. I apologize ahead of time. All right, that was 240. And I'm actually doing pretty good today. First actual YouTube live that I'm actually getting some stuff done. Still ran into some problems, but getting it done. We're on the last bit of this hole. And that was 320. Yes, that was 320. And I'll hit it with 400 real quick. Well, we had a live edge going. It ended up being a natural edge instead because the bark decided it sat for too long and didn't want to stay. So we went natural edge instead. We got a little bit of funkiness around where the bark was anyway. So that's probably why the bark didn't stay on. And this was a piece of wood that I didn't have the end grain sealed before I stored it. So, all right, well, we hit 400. It's not perfect. It's not the way I like it, but I think it will pass. Now, I'm going to do a little bit more. This is bugging me. Just not the way I want it. That I can live with. Okay. Normally, I would do some denatured alcohol, and I'm going to go ahead. I didn't do it on the outside. I should have, but I didn't. I'm going to do it on the inside, though. Denatured alcohol cleans up your dust and dirt you're turning, and it lifts the grain, pops the grain up. It gives you kind of a preview of what it's going to look like. I think it's going to turn out great. Your last one wasn't paying attention, reading the chat and peeled the bark off with a. Oh yeah, I've done that, but I wasn't even looking at the chat. I was just doing it. All right, let's hit this 400 one more time now that we've got the denatured alcohol going. Clean it up a little bit more. Knock off any dust with a little towel. Making sure I'll lightly hold it. Turn off the noisy machine and pull out the feed and wax. All right. Now I'm going to bring our camera, because we're getting ready to do the feed and wax. I'm going to bring it down to a little bit more level with the bowl. It doesn't really make a difference because I can't zoom this thing in. But hey, maybe you can see a little bit better. And we're going to do our feed and wax. There we go. Now, I'm making sure to get feed and wax on the edge, everything. I think that's some good color to it. I don't know how you all can see it, but it's looking good to me. And I'm going back over the outside again because we did have some sanding dust go on it over the edges. I think we've got it soaked in pretty good, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to hit it one more time. Can't hurt, can it? Yes, that is the Bauer. They call it the close quarters drill from Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight's not all that bad. You roll the dice at times. Like the first lathe that I got was a Harbor Freight central machinery lathe, and it was wonderful. It didn't have reverse, but best bang for your buck. And then I bought this Laguna, and it has been amazing. Now, on the other hand, I bought a Harbor Freight central machinery bandsaw, and it was a waste of money for me. It may have been the specific one I got, but it was horrid. So I ended up saving up and buying a jet that had a long, deeper reach on it too. So yeah, they do have the different levels. Like when I was talking to the one guy, he said the Bauer is the Bauer tools are the off brand of Craftsman. And then shoot, I can't remember the other ones. I just know the Bauer one's the off brand of Craftsman. It's kind of like they'll put it out with Bauer first to see how it goes, make any changes and upgrades that need to be done, and then they sell it as a Craftsman tool. So, all right, right now we've got our nice feed and wax on there, and it takes some time to dry, but we don't have time to wait on the video for it to dry. So I'm just going to show you. This is what we got. There's our profile, the inside there. Now, the tenon and the foot here, what I'm going to do off camera is I don't need to I probably will chuck it again, use a jam chuck, pop it on like that, and work on the base and just use my point tailstock here, like such, work away at that until it gets to the bottom, kind of like old Phil used to do. And then I'll hand sand the bottom of it, sign it, write the core, and put the cherry on there. But I'll do that all afterwards, just because, again, you all ain't got time to wait with me for this thing to dry for like 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So we're not going to do that. But here we go. We've got pretty darn good end piece. So I'll let this dry. I'll spin it up, knock off the wax, and then I'll post a picture on my Facebook page, which is CJ's Woodworks. And I should have a link or a URL in my description to find my Facebook page. That's where I post most of the pictures and my videos. So it is cherry wood. It is a piece of cherry. And you got the Jet 1221 VS with the extended bed. That's a nice one. The Jet's got a good lathe too. You know, Laguna was perfect for me. I saved up from sales from Tamarack, and I had about 3 sales with them, and I was able to buy the Laguna, and it was wonderful. Radar the wood turner came in right when I was finishing up, Radar, but I appreciate you stopping in. We just finished up a cherry bowl natural edge. I started out. That's one thing I can do. We can see the end the end lengths and product size. Once I can find the daggone, where did I put the, there it is, the ruler. Oh, that's the 3-inch ruler. We don't want that one. We need the longer one. It's over. Oh, nope, it's not over. Up there it is. The shop's a mess. I have to redo it completely. All right, we started out at 9.5 inches, and we're down to 8.25. And we started out at 3 inches deep, and we're at 2.5. And then we've got our natural edge cherry, the radar that showed up. All right, y'all. Shop gremlins. Yeah, they got them. The shop gremlins got it. Well, I have a 2-car garage, and it's three quarters of it's wood stuff, woodworking, wood turning. I've got my dad's boat that he was trying to build before he passed away. I've got it sitting on my wood table right now, so now I've got to build it. And the whole garage, and I've got, like I said, 3/4 of it's wood turning and what have you, whatnot. But I've got probably that last quarter needs to be put in a different shed, and then I can move everything around and set it up exactly the way I want. But yeah, it's a mess up in here. But oh, look, there's a diamond card. It was under the shavings. Go figure. But yes, Todd, I am retired from the Marine Corps. I retired in 2015. Retired infantry most of the time. Did recruiting a little bit, and then my last job I was still infantry, but we did a chemical biological incident response force. It's out in Maryland. We took care of the DC area and just about everybody. Well, everybody, I really enjoyed having y'all on here. It's been an hour and 22 minutes, and I really appreciate you stopping in. And like, if you've been here for majority of the time, the talking was great. The comments were wonderful. I really enjoyed it. But I'm gonna hop off now because we're finished. So I'll do another one. I'm gonna try to do one. I try to do a video a week, but that's the editing really threw me off. So I've been doing some lives on Facebook. Well, thank you. I've been doing some lives on Facebook, and I'm like, I need to do YouTube lives. And then I was like, I need to try to do a different setup. So now, instead of using my phone to do my lives, I'm using my laptop with a webcam over here close to the daggone lathe. And I need to work on my setup. But either way, I thank you all again very much for stopping in. If you didn't get to watch the whole thing, you can go back and fast forward through all my talking. And luckily, you didn't get to see my face because I would have broke the camera. I'm more personality than anything else because it ain't the money and it ain't the looks. So never stop learning. I'll end with that. Never stop learning. Y'all have a good day. I'm going to go ahead and cut it now. Thanks again, everybody. If you start, if you do lives, you'll 1,000 views in a week, which is true. True. Lives and shorts, both of those are like a lot of the bigger ones. But again, I'll go ahead and end stream. Thank you again, Todd. I appreciate it. Alien, the Dizzy Star Master, and Todd. Y'all have a good one. Bye.